Chair, yes, this is my last topic, and I'll get through it as efficiently as I can. It's on the NZYQ cohort, so if any relevant officials for that could come forward. Thank you. How many NZYQ cohort members have been charged with a visa breach?
10.
And that is the 10 since the 12th of March when the visas were reissued after the issue with the original visas was identified?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. How many of those people have been charged more than once?
There's been several that have been charged more than once.
Do you have the total number of charges?
We have had, out of the 10 people, they've had between them 23 charges.
Okay, thank you. Of those individuals, how many of the 10 have been charged multiple times?
How many have been charged more than once, was it? Sorry?
Yep.
Sorry, Senator, I was just asking. It's okay.
Sorry, Senator. We've had 2 people with 3 reports of crime, 1 person with 2 reports of crime, 1 person with 4 reports of crime.
Okay. Have any NZYQ cohort members been charged with any other federal offence or just the visa breaches?
There's been 3 charged with other offences.
What offences are they?
I don't have that information with me at hand, Senator. Commonwealth offences or state offences?
Yes, Commonwealth offences, yeah.
No other Commonwealth offences.
Oh, no other Commonwealth offences. So those 3 have been charged with state or territory offences.
There's actually...
Yeah, I think I've got a higher number from ABF.
There's the data that I'm providing you is as of the 27th of May.
Yep.
The data ABF provided you was the 30th of April.
Yep.
We've had, of the 10 people that we have charged with Commonwealth offences under the Migration Act, 6 of those have been charged with state and territory offences as well. Great.
And did you have an updated figure of the total number of state and territory charges for the whole cohort?
I think I probably need to defer to ABF. The figure I had was 36 as of the 27th of May.
Okay. So I know there's kind of competing complex numbers here, but we've got 36 charged with state and territory offences and 10 charged with Commonwealth offences, and you said 6 of those are overlapping.
Yes.
So presumably that means there are 4 who have only been charged with a visa breach and not a state and territory offence.
Yes.
And so that means the total cohort out of 153 who've been charged with any offence is 40. Is my maths okay there? You're very embarrassing if I'm wrong.
It's late in the week.
It's late on a Friday night, I appreciate. If 40 is wrong, tell me on notice.
I'll take that on notice.
But we'll go with 40 for now. Okay, I don't expect you to know the exact whereabouts of all the people charged with state offences, but of the 10 people charged with federal offences, how many of them are free in the community and how many of them are in custody?
There's currently 7 in custody.
Okay, so 3 in the community?
Yes.
On each of those 10 people and the 23 breaches that they are accused of, what position did the AFP take on bail?
Thank you, Senator. The question about bail is actually a bit of a complicated question to answer.
Okay.
When we charge people, they generally go to a watch house, and then there's court processes. So the question really for bail is really the decision at court for the DPP.
Right. So the AFP doesn't take a position, isn't asked for a view, doesn't have input?
No, there's a consultation process, of course.
Okay.
But what I can say is of the people that we have had reports of crime, and on all but one occasion, we at the watch house we had them held, so we opposed bail.
Right. So it was the AFP's decision to detain them, with the exception of one case. What was the circumstance of that one case where you didn't?
I don't have those details, that level of detail with me.
Okay, if you could take that on notice, that would be good.
Yeah.
Have any of these individuals been convicted as opposed to just being charged?
Sorry?
Have any of these individuals been convicted as opposed to just being charged?
One of them has been convicted.
And that is just for a visa breach?
Yes.
I shouldn't say just, but it is for a visa breach?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. And what was the sentence?
The sentence was suspended, sentenced 12 months suspended for 2 years, good behaviour.
Isn't there mandatory minimums?
There is mandatory minimums. This particular individual was dealt with summarily.
What does that mean in layman's language?
Yes, there is the option to deal with matters under the Crimes Act for certain matters to be heard summarily. So it is held in a different level of court.
Lower court.
Lower court.
But, I mean, I thought the Parliament's intention was pretty clear when we legislated this scheme, mandatory minimum sentences of 1 year.
Yes, that is correct. That's what the legislation is. But under the Crimes Act, there is the option for certain offences of which the Migration Act does fall under to be dealt with summarily.
But why would that exempt them from a mandatory minimum sentence?
It's really, I probably need to defer that question to the Department of DPP. As the AFP's prosecuting agency, it's really their mandate to have that engagement with the courts.
Can our AGD colleagues assist here?
I've just been listening, Senator. I think we would need to look into that. I don't think we have an answer right off.
Pardon me? You want to take it on notice?
So I think, Home Affairs would be best placed to speak to the sentences for their offences.
Just on the question of law, though, I mean, you were involved, presumably or consulted in the drafting of the legislation. How can the Parliament's intention for a mandatory minimum not be adhered to by a court?
I think it's the way the sentencing provisions operate that give, as I understand it, judges alternate options.
Right. I'd have to go back to the second reading speeches, but I'm pretty sure that ministers and others said, if you breach this, you will go to jail, and that was my understanding. I don't think there was an asterisk that said you might get a suspended sentence to be let out. That individual who was given the suspended sentences, have they been charged again?
Yes.
They have been.
Yes.
What have they been charged with?
A visa breach.
Right. I mean, this is why there was mandatory minimum in the legislation. It's not your fault. It's the court that's made the decision, and you didn't draft legislation, so I'm not holding you responsible, but that's extraordinary. Anyway, I want to ask specifically about the individual in WA, Majid Dukoshkin. Now, I know his visa breach was prior to the 12th of March, and the conditions of the visa weren't valid, and so he had to be released in the community for that reason. But what position did the AFP take on bail in that case?
In regards to that individual, he was charged at the Perth Watch House, and on that time he was held to appear in court the following day. That was on the 20th of February. He appeared in court in Perth. There was a conversation, a consultation with the CDPP in regards to that individual, and as I mentioned before, the DPP is the Commonwealth Prosecution Agency of people who we believe subject matter experts. We deferred to them on that occasion for the position they put forward. Right,
so they didn't consult you or seek your opinion on bail?
No, we did consult with them on the position of bail.
And did they inform you they were intending not to seek bail?
Sorry, was that?
Or not, did they inform you they were not going to ask for bail? So I'm getting my terminology the opposite way around there, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So
we did inform the CDPP of our position of bail, which was to oppose it, but then we had consultation with them, and based on their position, and I think, there was evidence provided earlier, there's different bail laws around the country. Mm-hmm. We defer to them in a consultative manner, which we do on all matters, and the position put forward was not to oppose bail, and the AFP supported them in that decision on that occasion.
But your initial advice was that this person should not be granted bail?
That's correct.
And the DPP ignored your advice?
No, they didn't ignore our advice. There was a conversation. It's a good partnership. We work with them very closely all the time. We did defer to them as the Commonwealth's subject matter experts in prosecutions, and we supported them ultimately in that decision.
I appreciate you being...
Sorry, Senator Patterson, To be fair, the DPP was here to give evidence and was asked questions about this. I don't know if it's the same case, but this broader matter, the same case. The AFP is not here to give evidence for the DPP, who actually did that a few hours ago.
No.
I know that you might not have been here at the time, but to be fair, we're not going to re-prosecute questions. We've already asked to the DPP, who are the actual responsible agency. These questions should be put to the AFP in terms of their knowledge, their functions, their responsibilities.
Point of order, Chair.
What is the point of order? Sure.
The CDPP did give evidence. I actually asked the CDP...
What's the point of order?
Well, relevance, the CDPP did say they received instructions from the AFP, so that actually brings the relevance of the AFP to bear.
It's not that that's not relevant. Senator Patterson put a question to the Assistant Commissioner about what the CDPP decided, and what I'm asking is for him to frame his questions to the Assistant Commissioner about things that are within her knowledge to answer, so that we can get through this. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So, to recap, the AFP's initial position was that bail should be opposed. After discussion with the DPP, it was resolved that bail would not be opposed.
Yeah, the position of bail is ultimately a decision for the DPP.
Of course, and I understand you have an ongoing professional relationship with them, which is important, and I don't want to put you in a position where you have to jeopardise that. Is it common for the DPP to take a different position to what you initially advise on bail?
I don't have the data to provide you with a position on that, Senator. In
your experience or in the experience of other officers?
It's not uncommon. Senator.
Not uncommon that you have a difference of opinion.
But as the Assistant Commissioner has stated, it's a very collaborative approach in terms of some of these, as we work through these issues, but it's not uncommon.
Yeah, okay. Has the Attorney-General, whose office, spoken to you about the government's expectations about future positions on bail in these cases?
I don't believe so, Senator.
No, it's not the Attorney's role. He steers
well. We did hear evidence when my colleague Senator Scarr was questioning the DPP that they have circulated a new policy about bail in relation to cases like these. Obviously, it's been a question of kind of public controversy. So has the AFP reflected on the Koshkin case and therefore the position that you will take in the future on bail on similar cases?
No, because it is an independent, it's the case officer's independent decision to proceed with what they think as well, and they base it in, that's that office of constable and the independence of the office of constable, because otherwise you end up with a system where it's not independent, so to speak. So
sure.
You'll have some officers may apply X and some may apply Y, depending on the circumstances, the information they have at hand and so on.
So you don't have an organisational-wide policy on, you know, when bail should be supported or opposed? You don't have an approach?
Well, we have a process on how to do that, but of course, you know, if you charge someone with an indictable offence, a serious offence that carries, you know, significant penalty.
Well, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah,
like, presumably, for child sex offences, the AFP is going to have a view, right?
Yeah.
And but for less serious offences, maybe a different view. So there must be some kind of guidance.
Yes, but often then the court themselves can.
Of course, no,
make
I'm not.
That decision.
Courts are totally
we're going to
separate matter.
that.
Yeah, no, I'm just interested in that.
And also sometimes it is strategy. I mean, without getting into real detail, sometimes we know the magistrates, we know what they're like, what they don't like, and you have to go through that process as well to understand some are.
I'm sure you're not suggesting it's a luck of the draw.
No, they're just not all the same.
No, indeed. So the AFP can issue guidance or does have a position on whether to support bail for certain crime types. So you haven't issued any kind of directives or guidance about visa breaches for this cohort?
Yeah, that's not, I think it's the Commissioner's note, that's not how we operate. We don't issue those directions from the Deputy Commissioner level. It's the individual case officers, you know, and they recognise the seriousness of the matters that they investigate, Senator. And as you know, going back to this case, our initial position and our direction to DPP was to oppose bail.
Yeah, no, I hear that. But so you don't even have a set process that they have to follow, or criteria that they have to consider, or
there's a criteria.
I mean, it's not completely freewheeling. It's not random officers deciding random positions, surely.
No. There's I mean, I think if you look at jurisdictions like Victoria, and a lot of the jurisdictions, there is a presumption to give bail. So what fits into that is, you know, serious flight risk, exceptional circumstances. But when we're concerned, we will. Our strong advice to DPP is to oppose bail.
Obviously, we know the consequences in the Kokoshkin matter. I mean, it was only partly due to bail not being opposed, partly due to the faulty visa, but obviously a serious crime has allegedly been committed as a result. You don't think that will affect the AFP's advice going forward in other cases similar to this?
Well, we oppose bail. That was our position.
I know, but we heard from your colleague though that your initial advice was to oppose bail, but when the CDPP, gave their preferred position, you ultimately assented to or agreed to the position that they took.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, we'll probably take that on notice to provide the granular detail of those conversations, Senator. But ultimately, it's, as the Assistant Commissioner has noted, it's a role for the DPP. They're the decision maker in relation to this process, and they do listen to us from in relation to these cases. But they're the decision maker. But we'll take that on notice in terms of the granular detail of those conversations.
Okay. This individual who was convicted of a breach of bail, given a suspended sentence and then charged again with other offences, are they currently in custody?
Yes.
They are. So presumably, second time around, bail was opposed by both the AFP and the CDPP and granted by the court. Sorry, the bail was not granted by the court.
That's correct.
That's comforting to hear. Yes, that's sufficient for me. Thank you, Chair.